Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees, starting with you, Tatenda. Thank you so much for your generous contribution, and your comment there reads, "Keep up the good work, Tinto." I will. Next up, I've got Tally. Again, thank you for your generous contribution, and your comment there reads, "Incredible podcast, mate. I've been listening every Friday." Get that right, Tinto. I've been listening every day since you were on the Brunch and Bantu Knots podcast. Thank you. You're welcome. Next up, I've got Ashabi Abeje, and your generous contribution doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you so much. And your comment there reads, "This podcast is everything, Tinto. You're such a great host, and shout out to your guests. I've been binging on your podcast for like 2 weeks straight." Ooh, awesome. Thank you so much, Ashabi. And hey, melanated Laura, thank you so much again for your contribution again to the podcast. And your comment there reads, "For the podcast we have grown to love." If you'd like to support the podcast in a similar manner, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there's nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. And if you would love to be part of the guys who are looking amazing in the TFS merch, please come to our Instagram DM and our Twitter DM, and I'll make arrangements for your t-shirts to be sent out to you. Just yesterday, I sent out three. Two went out to Canada and one has gone out to the United States of America. So we're posting everywhere. Feel free to get in touch and I'll sort you out. With that out of the way, let's get straight into this weekend's friendship episode.
We used to be best friends, used to do good things together. Oh no, but no more.
It's just a distant memory.
My homie, buddy, cousin, it all just fell apart. I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm not sorry.
It's just a distant memory. Yeah, yeah. My said, "Who's bestie?" Tato Chico, come on. Tato Chico, come on. My nini said, "Who's bestie?" Tato Chico, come on. Tato Chico, come on. My nini said, "Who's..."
Yo, what's happening?
What it do?
Finally, we connect with a little bit of trouble with the Google Duo, but we're here.
Yeah, Sila.
And now we're making this.
Location.
Oi! You see, don't start on my piano because I'm going to go crazy already. I'm still buzzing from Kabza's thing that he did in London last weekend.
You guys are so lucky.
Of
to
course,
have,
you can say that again. And this weekend, I think we got Dub and Go, and then later on we got Mellow and Sleazy coming through, and Jazzik. Yo, fam.
no shade, but we only got TXC. They're great, but they're not the creme de la creme.
You say that they got a new album that came out 2 days ago.
Yeah, I saw. I
Yeah.
haven't listened to it.
I think they got
yet,
6
though.
tracks on there. I like 4 of them already. So yeah, man, them are doing good, yeah. And they also
4 out
played.
of 6.
Yeah, man, and that's a really good stat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give him a chance.
Yeah, because Cubs is about 2 hours, and I like KOA, his latest one. I like 5, and he's got about 18. So 5 out of 18. See what I mean? And TXC, there's a 4 out of 6.
Yeah, I haven't. To be honest, I haven't listened to the full Kabza
Yeah,
in
man.
so long. I haven't had the time to sample the whole thing.
Don't worry, you hit me up with the ones that you like. I can almost predict the ones that you're gonna like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
For those who are listening to the podcast for the first time, it touches on romantic, family, and friendship breakups that people would like to talk about with a view to give lessons from their experiences. Now, I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful given the lessons behind everything we're going to talk about today. So, podcast is popular for 2 main reasons. The first being I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part, for me at least, right? The part that I'm giving you the name you're going to use for the duration of this episode. So, I picked a name from North Africa, so it's in Arabic. Do you have a pen and paper?
Yes, I have a pen and paper.
Right. The name is Adara, which is Adara.
Adara.
Yeah. And what that means is virgin.
Yo. No, it's accurate. I don't understand why we're laughing.
It's just funny for me. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's just funny for me. Because
I like it.
Because I shared a story on 6 foot weights that's related to an Adara type of situation.
I know the story you're talking about.
So It's
I actually was about to say, I was like, kind of like, but I was like, maybe too
yeah.
much
You
shade.
see, so for me, when I hear these Adara missions, I'm like, hey, yeah, you know, yeah, it's
No, I get it.
it's
You're
just a bit of a
traumatized.
hot topic for me. That's
Yeah, I'm
all.
sensitive. It's okay.
So your name is Adara, and what are you calling the name of the person you're talking about today?
So they're actually gonna be three people of interest,
Three
maybe four.
people. Ooh,
But the main person,
yeah.
that have we told the people what kind of breakup this is?
Well, yeah, well, yeah. They're gonna figure out because I normally put a song that gives an indication what kind of breakup it is. So
Okay.
this is a friendship breakup.
Okay, great. So the name of the friend,
Mm-hmm.
or ex-friend or friend, who knows, is Neo. So decided to give the people in my story songs of African music genres,
Okay.
right? So person of interest is Neo.
Mm-hmm.
And then another really crucial person in the story is going to be Ndombolo, because you know,
Okay.
you need to
Okay.
because actually Loki he's a player. But okay, wait, that's fine. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then another person will be Reggae, and the last person is High Life. Reggae and High Life are going to be very low in the story, but you know.
And all of these are in one story.
Yeah, like
Lord of mercy, that's a madness, Yana.
I
Okay.
can't even explain. Like you just have
Mm-mm.
to hear the Guan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I got the names right, this is about Neo, which is the person of
Mm-hmm.
interest, Ndombolo, Reggae, and High Life.
Yeah.
Cool. And the second reason why the podcast is popular is that they're real life lessons that people are going to learn from the story you're going to share today. So, what lessons would you like people to learn?
So the biggest one, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a one word kind of thing, but I would say sometimes we meet people during their healing stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if we sometimes try to touch the painting before it's dry, we're going to end up ruining it and getting some on ourselves.
Ooh. Hey. Ah.
Bars.
Ah,
Trust me.
bars, fam. And what you have to remember is I try and memorize these lessons so that I just draw them up as the story goes. So
I'm in trouble.
yeah, you can say that again. I'm in trouble now. I'll do my best to play that back in a sec. So that's lesson number one. Do we have another lesson?
Yeah, I think the second lesson is I can only be myself and I can't be responsible for how others perceive that.
Yeah. Ooh.
So,
Okay. Great.
yeah.
Do you have a third lesson?
Um Sometimes kindness is taken for weakness and sometimes it's taken for prostitution.
Ay! Okay, right. Do we have any more, or that's
No,
all of
no.
the?
I think that's good. That's good. That's good.
Right. Okay. So I'll play back those lessons. Lesson number one: sometimes we meet people during their healing stage, and we try to touch the painting before it's dry, and then we end up ruining it, and we end up with some of that on ourselves.
Yeah.
And then lesson number two, I can only be myself and can't be responsible for how others perceive me and perceive that. And then last but not least, sometimes kindness is taken for weakness and sometimes for prostitution. Jeez, I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I'm really interested in that. So let's get into this whole Guan. I'm guessing Neo is the best person to start with. Is that correct?
No, because I can't meet Neo without Ndombolo.
So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to ask you to fire away, and all I'm going to do is sit down and listen.
Okay, so when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I was into music. That's also what I'm still into.
Mm-hmm.
And like recording this and getting into this podcast, I have a feeling, not a feeling, I know for a fact that a big majority of people are going to know. They're going to know either me, they might not say it
Yeah.
to my face, but they're probably going to know because some of the stories are familiar. And yeah, okay.
I'll tell you something.
So,
The
mhm.
community of feelers is so good, even if they recognize something they never say.
Aw.
It's yeah, and they're loyal like that. It's a community of people who get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've not had a single person knock on my door and say, "I recognize who this is," and they make it public knowledge. They kind of stick it and keep it to themselves, and I'm grateful for that.
Hmm.
So don't even worry about people recognizing you.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, let's start from the top. From the
Mm-hmm.
top, let's make it drop. I think I was about 17. I can't remember, like lower six,
Mm-hmm.
or something. And I was in choir, and then we did a collaboration with a different school. And at this different school, I met one of the people in the band. Great person. This person is Ndombolo. So Ndombolo and I ended up being friends. You know, your typical high school cruise and all that stuff. I would like go to his house for like barbecues,
Or
all
go to
that
his
stuff.
house.
Yeah, like we were
Ah, so
friends.
Sundumbolo is a guy.
Oh yes, yes.
Okay.
Maybe that's important.
Yeah,
Dombolo
okay.
is a guy.
Yeah, okay.
Neo is a girl, and
Mm-hmm.
High Life and Reggae are also guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's big, guys, fam. Do you have more guy friends than you have girlfriends?
unintentionally.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, I'm in a technical field, so I grew up always not grew up, but a lot of my friends I made in university, and I was in engineering, which was very like 10% girls.
But this is high school, right?
Yeah, but the story is from high school, but that's not when I had more guy friends than girlfriends. High school is different.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so meeting this person, we were just good vibes, great person. And we got quite close. He left high school before me. And then when I got to university and I told him where I was going for my university, he was like, "Oh, snap. I have a friend who goes to that university, but she's a year above you. And her name is Neo. I think you guys would be great friends."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll link you guys up." So we didn't really link up, but we were Facebook friends. That was pretty much it. But it's awkward to start friendships online
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Now it's super easy. Like we're boys, but I haven't met you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But back then it was super, super awkward. So funny enough, I met her in the cafeteria at my university. And so Ndombolo was still in back in my home country, and then Neo and I were in the same university outside of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up to me. We were sitting I was sitting at a table having lunch, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you Ad- Adara?"
Adara, yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, you're Neo, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dombolo told me all about you." And I was like, "Oh, it's so great that we finally got to meet." ETC. It was nothing special. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even like meet up afterwards. After we met, it was just not nice. I just went back told Dombolo because we used to talk all the time. I
Mm.
was like, "Yo, I saw your homie," and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you guys finally met. She's good people." And cut to a year later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting classes. I'm starting second year maths. And turns out Neo is doing the same maths class I am.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where things hit it off. Like we started talking and having, the mutual friends. Turns out she was from um a different city than Dombolo and I.
Yeah.
So they had actually also met in high school, but at like a sporting event,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in her city. And I was like, "Oh, that makes sense why I would have never like known about you because you were not in my city." And we became really close. Turns out we lived right across from each other.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, she was into music as well. She played guitar. I played guitar. She sang. She was a church girl. I was a church girl. I mean, actually, all three of us are kind of church people. Um, and then when I got to her room the first time, I saw she had a picture of her and Dombolo on her wall.
Mm.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, so you guys are friends?" And she's like, "Nah, we're just like best friends, like besties." Shout out to Nat from Girls in Skies
Why?
because she knows what besties mean. But she's like, "Yeah, we're just besties," and I'm like,
Okay.
"That's dope. That's dope."
Oh, as in boy and girl bestie type thing.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
okay. All right.
And I was like, "It's fine. It's fine. It's all good." She's like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of like him, but it's just never happened." And I was like, "I get that. I get that." And then I went back to Ndombolo, right? I'm
Mm.
like, I didn't say anything. Nope.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, girl, what did you go out there and say?
What do they say in Shona? Something about Handitari Kwansnakswer.
Oh yeah, okay. I get that. I get that. You don't snitch.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
Mm.
so I'm like, yeah, me and Neo are getting pretty close. Like, she's dope. And then he's like, yeah, she's amazing. Then he goes on a spiel about how she's great and all that stuff. Like, it was in depth. And because now
Mhm.
I guess I had seen her personality, her kindness, and all that stuff. And she also had opened up to me about some really dark stuff, not dark, but hard stuff she had to deal with, like growing up, with respect to her family situation,
Yeah.
right? Like, it might be a bit personal, but like her dad walked out on her.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and it was just like her and her mom and her stepdad, and she's always taking care of her family and all that stuff. So I really like respected what she had gone through.
Mm.
And what was also funny is we found out that we had dated the same guy. So I dated
at the
this
same
guy.
time or at different points in your
No.
life?
So I dated this guy when I was like Form 4
Mm-hmm.
or like early lower 6.
Mm.
And he also went to the same university, but he was also older. So he was in the same year as Neo. And she was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, him and I dated like last year. Like it was just like super recent. And it was just like, haha, lol.
Wow.
Yeah. And we actually laughed it off because he was equally trash.
Yeah. Shout out to you,
So
my bro.
yeah, it's so
Uh,
funny, but he was still in the city, and he went to the same church as Neo, so they kind of
mm,
still had to keep in contact. But me and him, it was like, I mean, I don't hate you, but like we're not friends.
mm,
So we really bonded over a lot of stuff.
mm.
She was also very generous, and very giving. Like she has had, I don't know, a good heart. So now I'm also saying these things to Ndombolo, like whilst we're chatting, because we were kind of close. We were close friends, right? And he's just like also just like resonating with everything, or revert. What's the word? Like he's just reiterating, like, yeah, man, I knew it. I knew this
Mhm.
girl. She's like this. So now he's painting her out to be the sun and moon and stars, and I'm like, friend, what's going on?
Mm.
I'm like, do you like this girl? Like, what's happening? And then he also gave the same thing, like, yeah, I guess, like, she's just always been that person for me, and I also fear ruining it, this, that, and the rest. And I was like, oh, okay. What am I going to do? Like, I'm not gonna tell people what to do.
Yeah.
If they want to be together,
Yeah.
they'll be together, right? But maybe this conversation triggered something. I don't know what it was.
Right.
Um, and now Neo's telling me that her and Ndombolo are having daily video calls. I was like, okay, this is
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
This is cool. And things start getting a little bit more intense. So because of where Neo was academically, sometimes she didn't go home for the vacation holidays. But I
Mhm.
used to go home almost all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And she'd like be like, "Hey, I bought this for Ndombolo, so when you go back home, please give it to him." I'll be like, "Okay."
They're sounding a lot closer than they are painting themselves to be.
Or getting there,
Mm.
And then I would go home, he would do the same.
Mm.
I would come back with like, my baggage would be filled with, okay, not filled, but just know like I have to leave space.
Yeah.
Homeboy used to drive from like the other side of H
Mm.
to like come leave that gift.
Mm.
I'll be like, yes, man.
Fundombo, yeah, for Neo. Yeah.
For Neo, yeah.
Mm.
So this was like, if by any chance I wasn't going, I mean, by any chance she wasn't going back home, especially also because she lived in a different city. So sometimes if she did go back home, she wouldn't get a chance to see him.
Yeah.
So she would still like, I was still like Korea now, because now I was close to both of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was happy for them. I was genuinely elated. Like, people I love are potentially going to be in love.
Did you ever have feelings for Ndombolo?
Ish,
You
ish,
win.
ish, ish, ish. can you just okay, let's backtrack a bit, right? When I met him, I told you I was 17.
Mhm.
I had like a schoolgirl crush. Yeah.
On Dombolo.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I actually like not the first time we met, but the first or second time we hung out, I met one of his friends and I dated his friend because that schoolgirl crush wasn't that deep because he was also seeing one of my seniors at my school. So I was like, I don't want to get beat up.
Yeah.
I don't want to get beat up. So I actually dated one of his friends for a couple of months.
Mhm.
So it was like that schoolgirl crush at that beginning just was, yeah, it went away.
Okay.
Yeah. So coming back to university days, this was like my second year now.
Mhm.
And then at some point, like she's like, hey, come over. I mean, she lived across me, so I would hang out there, and she'd be like, I want to tell you. She was like, I want to tell you something, and I'm like, what? And she's like, so me and Ndombolo are official. I was like,
Ooh, okay.
I could have told you that.
Yep.
I could have told you that. I was
Mhm.
like, congratulations. I'm really excited for you. And I went texted Ndombolo. I was like, congrats. I'm really happy for you guys. All that work I was doing of laboring up and down has paid off,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
And here I am, think it's uphill from here, people are together, things are gonna work out, this is great. And then moving into my third year, Neo moved apartments because she wasn't living on campus anymore, so she moved apartments.
Mhm.
Excuse me. She moved apartments and she was now staying a little bit further, not far, but it was like not as accessible, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. I can't really explain. This is now like 2, 3 months into their relationship.
Mhm.
And now she's away and we don't see each other as often. We don't talk as often. Um, mind you, like, just to reiterate this, I was still doing the work of going up and down with gifts. And
Oh yeah.
when I was at home, he would like Dombolo would call me up like, hey, yo, Adara, what are you doing this afternoon? Can I come pick you up? I need help getting a
Mhm.
gift like this a person like he was very much a personalized gift kind of person. So he would be like, I want to get her, for example, like a personalized T-shirt with something written on it, but I need your help picking out like her color or things like that. This is the kind of things I would do. If he was going to visit her in her city, he would also be like, yo, I need to get something, give me advice or whatever, because I'm going to a city, things like that. So I was really close to both of them at that level, right?
Mhm.
This is going to be important for later. Um, so when she moved out to a different apartment, I started to feel the distance a little bit. And I'll be like, you know what? She's in a final year. Maybe she's just busy. Um, I was
Yeah.
also just busy, like I told you, engineering, life is tough. Um, and after like a few months, well, not a few months, like after a month or so, Dombolo tells me like, oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to tell you,
Oh.
Neo and I broke up. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, what? When you're like, what? Like when,
Yeah.
how, like,
Yeah.
where were the signs? And then now being the friend that I am, I'm like, no, I need to go visit Neo ASAP Rocky. So
Mm.
I call her up and I'm like, hey, I'm in your hood. Are you home? So I didn't even
Did you
do the
did you
whole
just say I need to go see Neo ASAP Rocky?
Wait,
Wow, I've learned something new today. So if I want to do something quick, I described it ASAP Rocky, yeah?
yeah.
Mud. Okay, right. Yeah, so you hit up Neo ASAP Rocky.
Yeah, because I didn't even give her a chance to be like, "Are you home?" Whatever. I was like, "I'm in your
Yeah.
hood. Like, give me your send location."
But why did you care?
Why did I care?
Because you just said to me that you felt that the distance between you two was growing.
Yes, but not in a. So it wasn't in a like I was mad that there was distance. It was more like, man, maybe one of us, or maybe I should be making more of an effort, kind of thing.
Okay.
Because then now that she's not living across me, does that mean I'm not her friend anymore? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to her new apartment. It was a really nice place. You know, at first we're talking, and then eventually we get to the meat of it. Like, yo, are you fine? And she's like, not really. And I'm like, what happened? And she's like, ask your friend. I'm like, ah. And then, obviously, like, this was kind of her way of like, I don't really want to talk about it. So I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm here for you. So we just hung out like normal. Um, but things were just weird, right? Like, I was just like, okay, she's hurt. Whatever happened must be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not trying to be in it that deep. So I didn't want to go back to Ndombolo and be like, cool, how far? You know?
Mm.
I'm just like, hey, people are dealing with what they're dealing with. I'm also dealing with what I'm dealing with. Academia is kicking me in the behind.
Yeah.
And I'm just like focusing on my life. And then something happens. It wasn't something grand per se, but something happens like in my final year. So now we're in my final year. I'm in fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point she was now doing her master's.
Mm-hmm.
So a friend of mine, this friend, enter Reggae. Reggae and I have been friends since first year because we used to eat in the same dining hall.
Yeah.
So Reggae is like my home dog. Like we were doing maybe 50% of the same classes. So in terms of like the fact that he lived close, we were in the same study groups, etc. We were both into the same hobbies. It was just like we were that close, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, Reggae, he used to be a creative. I'm going to say a creative.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a chance to work with Neo. And then he hits me up on one day. He's like, hey, yo, your friend, Neo, tell me about her. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I really like her. I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And then we were texting. So I called Ndombolo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from Neo in a while. I think she's kind of avoiding me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, because maybe I'll try to, because like I said, this was now a year later. I've tried to reach out. She always has reasons as to why we can't meet up. There's just a lot going on. Not a lot going on. There's nothing going on. Sometimes she doesn't reply my messages. Sometimes it's weird. So I just need to know, like, is she fine? Like, do you guys still talk? Do you know if anything happened? Maybe she's dealing with something. And he's like, okay, Adara, it's time I tell you.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And Dombolo is like, so one of the reasons we broke up, it's not the main, it's just one of, was that Neo didn't understand why you and I were so close.
Mm. Okay.
And she felt as though you were just a bit too involved in our relationship. I was like, what?
Mud.
I was like, huh? And then he's like, yeah, even that time I was trying to go to her city. She was like, why does she know? Why does she know you're coming? Why does she know this? Why does she know everything? Does she have to know everything? Basically, there was a root of like, there was just a bit of insecurity,
Yeah, yeah.
and I guess I got the like heat of it.
Mm.
And I was like, "What? Why didn't you tell me?" He's like, "Yeah, because I also didn't want you to be mad at her and all that stuff." And I was like, "Ah, okay, Iribo, right?
Yeah.
We'll deal with this one." Not in a bad way, but like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very reasonable person. Like I'm not confrontational, but I'm more strongly against someone having a bad perception of me.
Right. Okay.
So if I have to be confrontational, I will be. So I was like, okay, it's fine. Let's just put this on the side. I go back to reggae. I'm like, hey, listen, I can't really give you much because I think this babe hates me for some reason or doesn't like me for some reason because this is so me trusting reggae and our friendship. I'm like, listen, don't then use this to get this babe, but this is what happened and this is why we're not close. So I told
Ish.
him about the Ndombolo and Neo situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. I was like, hey, bruh, to each their own. I've told you the facts. You wanted to know the truth. But if you want to get her, I can't be involved because we're not friends right now, or we're not talking at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, no, no, it's chilled, it's chilled, it's chilled. Him just, being a guy. As much as we were close, we didn't like talk all the time. It was just more like, the kind of friends where you can call them anytime and all that stuff. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, good luck, reggae, all that jazz. So now I'm getting closer to finishing my final year, and I'm like, you know what? I have to, what's the word? I have to clear the air.
Right.
And then I sent Nia a message. I'm like, hey, so I'm leaving this country soon, and I really didn't want to go without us having a chance to meet up. And I know we
Mm-hmm.
haven't had a chance in like over a year, but
Yeah.
it's really important for me that we hang or that we do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, oh yeah, cool, let's do it. We set a date and time. It was breakfast or brunch, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there. I get there and she's like half an hour late. And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, shady much. And then, so now I'm acting like I don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to fight. I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Things have just been really hard, academics, whatever, whatever, home stuff. I was like, okay. And then she says to me, how's Ndombolo? And I'm like, he's good, I guess. And I'm like, are you guys still talking? And she's like, I don't know. You should ask him, why we're not talking. So
Mm.
I'm like, okay. So now I'm like, also like the energy is a bit off. The
Yeah.
fake smiling, I see it. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. We don't have to do this. I don't say it like that. I'm just like, it's all right. I'm glad I got to see you. You know my number. You can always reach out if you want to talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, cool, all the best, good luck, this, that, and the rest. Now I'm closer to the end. I think at this point I'm even back home, home.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me why I get a 2-page message on WhatsApp.
Wait, when you say, when you say 2-page message on
So
WhatsApp.
when you say read more twice.
Yeah. Okay.
And so this is probably like a few weeks after this brunch. And this message starts off saying, hey Adara, I am writing you this message to let you know that any friendship that we had, I'm cutting it off. Like we're done. I'm like,
Mm.
ew. What is going on? And she's like, yeah, so I'm just reading the message like as it is. She's like, I think you're a fake friend. You've never been genuinely a friend to me. I saw this the day that I told you that me and Dombolo are together. You weren't happy for me. I was like, what?
Ooh.
I'm just reacting to this message as it comes. She's like, I don't think you were genuinely happy. I think you were jealous. I was like, a lot of the stuff I don't remember what she says, and then she was like, there was a lot of emphasis on me being a fake friend.
Mm.
And she's like, now and then it gets to the part where she's like, now you're trying to ruin something good between me and someone I like.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay. So she's talking about reggae.
Yeah.
What did I ruin?
Yeah.
Because now, now I'm like, what is going on? Like accusations left, right, and center.
Yeah.
You just want to involve yourself in these things, and you don't care about me. You were just, putting a front. This is what she's saying to me. You're just putting a front, and I think it's time that I let you go. And please, I'm going to delete your number. I'm going to remove you off social media. Please don't try to contact me. I'm hurt to my stomach, first of all.
Yeah.
I'm a nice person. I like to think that I'm a nice person. So
Yeah.
to get someone that I care about to think that this to hear that this is how they think of me, I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah.
honestly couldn't believe it, right? I was like, I just couldn't. And then I called Reggae and I'm like, Reggae, what's going on? And he's like, oh, so me and Nia are a couple now. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, she asked me about you and our friendship. So I told her like we're friends, but she also asked what you said about her. And I'm like, and you snitched.
Ah.
And you snitched. And I'm just thinking like, however, it came out to her probably just sounded like it was coming from like a place of anger from me or a
Yeah.
place of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was true or not, the fact that I said it was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm like stressed. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's all right. Then Reggae's like, oh yeah, and on top of that, I'm not allowed to be your friend anymore.
I'm under strict instruction not to be not to be your friend anymore.
I'm
Lord
like,
have mercy.
and I'm like, are you mad? He's like, yeah. I mean, this is what she told me, but obviously, like, I'm not gonna cut you off. We're just gonna limit comms for a bit. Is that fine? I was like, it's okay. Do you? Maybe this is the love of your life. Who am I to get in the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I just let it be. I responded to Neo. I can't remember what I said exactly, but the response was like, after our friendship and how long and deep it was, I really would have hoped you had given me a chance to talk about this or explain or at least give my side because you're just coming with a definite conclusion about a situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we had something. Now I'm sounding like it was a relationship. We had something and you didn't give it a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point, she obviously is like, I don't really want to hear it. We just stopped talking. And I'm like, all good, all good. Then, like I said, I was now back home. Reggae comes back home too because he needs to sort out like admin stuff, passport,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And then he calls me and then he's like, hey, I'm in your area, but I actually can't, meet up, but let's just catch up. So we just talked on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point he's like, and then after like an hour on the phone, he's like, it was great talking to you, but like I'm getting another call. I'll call you later. And then I remember him telling me like, yeah, I got in trouble for talking to you.
Yo.
I'm like, oh, we didn't even
Mad.
meet up. And he's like, yeah, it's
Mad.
because- he's like, yeah, she thought that because I was in your city, I was gonna meet up with you.
Hey.
And I was like, ish, you're going through it, hey?
I almost feel like having reggae on this platform because yo.
I'm like, you're going through it. And this is like 2 months into their relationship.
Mad.
A month later, Reggae calls, he's like, guess what? And I'm like, what? He's like, we broke up.
Ah. Surprise, surprise.
And I'm like, at least it wasn't me this time. At least it wasn't me this time because we weren't talking because you weren't allowed to talk to me. So at least I can safely say I'm not the problem.
Do you know, interesting you bring that up because I've been in a situation before
Mhm.
where this ex of mine told me not to speak to people who are very important to me,
Mhm.
right? And I listened. And up until this day, I can't tell you why I listened to that human being. Because when everything died, fortunately for me, my people were loyal, right?
Mhm.
And they were just sat there on the bench waiting for the day that I come back.
Aw.
And I came back.
Prodigal
and
son.
yeah, proper prodigal son situation. And did you know that meme with Denzel Washington where he's got a matchstick in his mouth and is driving?
Yes.
Yeah, they had that kind of look when I came back home.
Like,
to say, so Charlie, how far now? So I get it. So for Ndombolo to be put in that situation and to come running back to you,
Can
I
you
totally
imagine?
get it.
So I'm like, Inga, you got
I mean
jokes.
reggae, not Ndombolo, reggae.
Yeah,
actually.
reggae.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Inga, you got jokes. So what happened? And he's like, so it was just insecurities, but one of the biggest thing that shocked him, Reggae, is that so Reggae, like I told you, we were in the same field, like engineering.
Mm-hmm.
He got a job offer. And because he got a better offer somewhere else, he got the chance to refer this company that had given him an offer. So they were like, hey, can you refer someone? And he referred one of his female friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, yeah, this girl, she would be brilliant for this job. And apparently this was a problem for
Mhm.
Neo, because Neo's like, why are you giving a girl a job?
Come on.
And I'm like, maybe competence, but I'm like, hey. Also,
Yeah.
this is a story I heard through reggae. I don't know how true it is, but I wasn't surprised. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised. And then me and Dumbolo also still being friends. I'm like, guess what happened? This happened. He's like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You know what? The fact that I'd also told him that she broke up with me. And I was like, and he was like, you know what? You're actually somewhat better off because you don't want that kind of energy around you. I was like,
Yeah.
fair. Um, so after this happens, like I think a couple months later, she reached out to me and she's like, hey, I was thinking about what you said, Paya, like about how I
Mhm.
didn't give you a chance and I was hoping we could talk so that I give you a chance. Then we kind of talked, but it was one of those talking where it was just, I guess she was just trying to get an apology out of me,
Mhm.
but it wasn't as if she was wrong at all. Like she was right.
Yeah.
According to herself, she was right. And
Yeah.
she was
yeah.
just pushing. She's like, yeah, but you have to admit that you said this and you did this and you did that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not in the way that you're saying. But yeah, it was just one of those. It was very awkward. But I was willing to try.
Mhm.
And we even like tried to reconcile a little bit, but it was awkward.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can imagine what it was like because
Yeah.
if something doesn't quite feel right, it will feel awkward naturally.
It will.
Mm.
And so now that I'm back home,
Mhm.
um, Dombolo and I are getting closer.
Mm. On what grounds?
So he happened to start working. I didn't have a job at that time. You know how it is. He happened to
Right.
start working in my hood. Like not my hood, but like compared to where he lived, which was like on the other side of the city, he was now like 5 minutes away from my
Mhm.
house. So he would be like, hey, what are you doing for lunch? I'm going to grab some chicken in and we can, hang out. This was pretty common, like maybe twice a week. This is what we would do. The thing is, because we were friends from high school, people in my house knew this person.
Yeah.
So it wasn't awkward. And it's like, your friend is here. Your friend is here. So for me, I didn't think anything of it, right? And then at some point, I was now catching feelings We're getting closer, and then he tells me he got a job offer outside the country.
Mm-mm.
So I'm like, this is great because I mean, it's not great, but it's great because then we don't have to explore this. We didn't even talk about it actually. This was just going on in my head. We didn't talk about our feelings, nothing. His friends could tell that there was something between us, but we never talked about it together. So his friends would either talk to me or talk to him about it, but the two of us never talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to another city. So I'm like, Zafarana, like he's left the country. It is what it is. It's all good. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'd still talk here and there and all that jazz. And then I met someone and started dating them. No, started seeing them. It was more like we were talking and whatever locally. So I was now like kind of involved with someone. And
Mm-hmm.
me and Dombolo's like friendship, we'd still talk like, once in a while, but we weren't as close as we were just before he left.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and now it seems like I'm focusing a lot on Dombolo, but it's really important to the story. And then he comes to visit, typical people visit in December. And he comes and he's like, hey, let's do brunch. I'm like, yeah, cool. Haven't seen you in a while, in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it. And then we go for brunch and we're hanging out as normal, running errands together, whatever it is. And then he sits me down. He's like, hey, yeah, so how's life? And then I mentioned that I'm seeing someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw his countenance change.
Hey. Okay.
I was like, oh,
Mm.
you know? And at this time, like me and this involvement, it wasn't even that deep, but the fact that I was now emotionally involved with someone else, I guess
Yeah.
I just couldn't just switch that off and and then I just figured he was probably going to tell me how he felt. And then now he can't. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all over. 2 days before he left or a week before he left, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, can we talk? I'll come to your house. He comes through and he's like, yeah, so I know you told me about this and this might come off as selfish, but I wouldn't forgive myself if I never told you. But yeah, I see a future with you and I really like you. And I know
Hey. Mm-hmm.
I know this isn't the right time and all that stuff with everything happening and me not being in the country, all that jazz, but I really, really hope, you know, this is something you can think about. And I'm like, are you joking?
Mm.
At this time, at this time. No, 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 no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, where have you been the past? So this was the past like 5 years. Where has this been the past 5, 6 years?
Exactly.
This is how long you've known me.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? I dated your friend.
Yeah.
You dated other people. We were both in and out of different relationships at different times.
Yes.
And now even after the whole Neo thing, you want to come back and bring this up now.
But
Right?
why was he bringing it up now? I mean, was he being sincere, or he was just, I don't know, just checking whether you feel the same for him?
I think so. I think probably a part of him probably would have wanted me to choose him. But I also get like I can understand, people in the movies, it's like just tell them how you feel. Whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens, but just tell them
Yeah.
how you feel. So I
Yeah.
guess he
Yeah.
just couldn't hold it in anymore. And he's like, you know what, whatever happens, I just need you to know this.
Mm.
And then I put it to the back of my mind for a while. Funny enough, and then he went back out of the country. I mean, he left the country again. Me and the person I was seeing didn't work out, but like I was also dealing with a lot of stuff, like trying to change jobs and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really thinking about that. And then we started texting again, but more like friends, me and Ndombolo. And then he brought it up. He's like, I told you how I feel a couple months ago, and now that you haven't been seeing anyone for a while, are you gonna give me a response or not?
Mm. Mm.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't feel the same way, but at the same time, you know the reason I'm reluctant because of Neo, right?
So when you had feelings, why were you downplaying your feelings from 17 years old?
I mean, no, because like they were at that time they left.
Where did they go?
I was 17. I was actually involved with someone else who also broke my heart, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
His friend that I dated ended up being gosh. It's okay. Maybe for another episode.
Okay.
But yeah, like it was never like that. I remember we even went to a camp together where this camp had my ex, his friend. It had him, Dombolo, and like other people, and it was vibey. Like we were all just now like people who know each other, hang out, pray together, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to this time, not this time, but that time where Ndombolo is now like, so what do we do? I'm like, okay, I'm open to starting to pursuing something. So he's like, okay, so let's talk with intent. So we're not dating, but we're talking with intent to date, right? Because now we kind of have to start over in a way.
Okay.
Build the friendship again and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm open to it. But Ndombolo, I think, was a bit of an overthinker. Looking back at it, I think that could have been one of the reasons him and Neo broke up. Maybe he might have put a lot of blame on Neo, but I think also he can be an overthinker.
Right.
Because after like 2 months of somewhat talking stage, at some point he's like to me, I actually don't think this will work out. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're planning to leave the country and I don't think I can do long distance. I'm like, it's already long distance right now because you're out of the country.
You're not doing anything different, bro.
And he's like, yeah, but I think, I've had time to think about it. I don't know. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is my fault because I took too long to get back to him. So now I'm like stressed. And then he comes to the country for a family thing. I can't remember. And I was like, hey, and then he's like, hey, he didn't even say, can we meet? It was just one of those, he accidentally was in my neighborhood. Is like, are you there? Let me come see you. So before in our friendship, he would come to see me, like we would plan to see me. But this one, you could tell now things are different. He's just like, yeah, I have 10 minutes, I'm gonna pass by. So I was like hurt by that, right? I was hurt by the energy, how it had changed and how our friendship had changed. And then I was like just before he went back, I was like, hey, can I come see you? Like I said, other side of the city. At that time where we were queuing for petrol. But I went anyway. And this was now my turn to spew my heart out. Like, I know, like, I was like, I know I messed up. I should have given you a chance. I should have like responded whether it was a yes or a no when you told me, but I didn't do that. And I really hope this doesn't damage whatever we have had. I feel like you're one of my closest friends, and I really don't want to ruin this. But at the same time, I feel like we would be missing out on something if we didn't give this a chance. And then he's like, I need to think about it. Right. I was like, fair and fine. He goes back to his raggedy country. And then he sends me a message like, thanks for what you said, but I still don't see anything between us. I'm like, you know, kepele close. What can you do? And then I think I was like, but he was like, yeah, we can still be friends. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need some time to deal. And then I think like after a month, I sent him a message. And I was like, what's up? What's up? What's up? This was like 3 years ago. I was like, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's cutting? How you doing? Life, etc. I miss my friend. This is why I'm reaching out to him. And then he's like, hey, actually he sees my message and doesn't reply. So I'm like, that's weird. And then he replies it the day after. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm good. I was like, okay, this is awkward. Are we still awkward? Can we never be friends again? And then I was like, is everything okay? How are you? He's like, yeah, everything's fine. I actually something's changed. And I'm like, what's changed? He's like, so a few weeks ago, Neo and I got back together.
What? What the hell is going on
I
here?
don't know. So I'm like, so all this talk of I can't see a future with you was just you just sliding back into your ex's DMs. Like, what? Why were you just telling me all this nonsense? So I didn't bring that up. I was like, really? I said, I hope you guys have fixed your issues now. Thumbs up. And then he's like, yeah, and it also means that I can't be friends with you anymore.
Mm-mm.
That's the condition of us getting back together.
This Neo chick is a bit possessive of her goods, isn't she? Of what's hers. Because she said the same thing to
To reggae.
to Reggae.
I'm like, Idibo. All the best, guys. I really hope it really works out this time.
Mm.
Like clockwork. 3 months later, he sends me a message. I've moved on though. He
Mm.
sends me a message. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'd left the country. And I was like, okay, why are you messaging me? He's like, so the reason I couldn't be friends with you kind of blew up in my face.
Okay, what was that reason? What, the chick or?
Yeah. So he's like, Neo and I are not together anymore. And I was like,
Fuck's
I mean, in
sake.
my head, I'm like, I could have seen that coming, but because you guys both of you hadn't changed, but it's fine. And the fact that she was even policing our friendship means nothing had changed.
Mm.
So I'm here at this point. I'm like, well, so what do you want with me?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I was just hoping, we could, try like rebuild our friendship and whatever. And I was like, nah, you made me second choice girlfriend, second choice friend. I'm good. I don't want to be involved with you anymore. Like, because if you and Neo had never broken up, that means it would have been the death of us. And you were
Yeah.
fine with that, right?
Mm.
So this is just convenience for you, I guess. So I don't want to involve myself with that. I was also like seeing someone and I was like, I really don't care. So I was like, fair enough. Hope you can forgive me, whatever. You'll be fine. So that is probably the last time I spoke to Dombolo. Now, like, I'm just like, I'm glad my friends are like, you should be happy you're done with these people, these two people in your life, And I'm like, you're right. But I was kind of upset because like it was a bit emotionally tolling, like, here in this raggedy country that I'm in, I met
Yeah.
someone 2 years ago and I started dating them. Tell me why this person went to the same high school as Neo.
You attracted type, my guy. You attracted type.
And I'm like, oh, okay,
Mm.
that's fine. So, but he was like to me, now we're not really friends. But apparently there was a school group chat, and the fact that this is the guy I'm dating. This is now High Life. So me and High Life, like start dating, and like his friend group chat. They kind of also had some people I knew from university and all that stuff. So people also knew me. They'll be like, "Oh, guys, did you know High Life and Adara are together?"
Mhm.
And Neo kind of sent a private message to my person as we were dating, and she's like, "Hey, you guys are dating. I just want you to know that this babe is gonna hurt you."
Aibo.
And yeah.
Why?
So
Why?
don't know.
Why?
So you know what's actually funny?
Mm.
High Life didn't tell me this happened until the day we broke up. He's like, Neo was right about you.
What are you guys like?
He's like, Neo was right about you. And I'm like, right about what? He's like, yeah, she said you were going to hurt me and you weren't going to care about my feelings. I'm like, what?
So I'm assuming you dumped High Life.
Yes.
Why? Why did you dump him?
So he was a little possessive and insecure.
So you didn't like his possessiveness and his insecurity.
Yeah, I think he was also I'm somewhat extroverted, right? That means I have a lot of friends. And the fact that I'm not a lot of friends, but a lot of people I hang out with, and I live with students, and there's just a lot of people in my circle.
And is the bulk of your friends male?
No, that wasn't even the issue.
Are you sure?
So it wasn't. I mean, maybe.
No, is the bulk of your friends during your time with high life males versus females?
I guess part of it, yeah. But like I remember some of the things he would say.
So hang on, you're
Yeah.
in a relationship with a guy
Mm-hmm.
and you have a lot of male friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for the guy to feel a type of way.
I get that.
It's natural. I would feel exactly the same, so I wouldn't describe him as possessive. He's just exhibiting a natural trait that anybody would exhibit. If I had a lot of female friends, the person I'm with would feel a type of way in the same way that you
Yes.
had a lot of male friends. He was feeling a type of way. So I wouldn't quite describe him as possessive. He was just jealous.
Okay. But like some of the issues we had nothing to do with the male friends. Some of the issues were about how I was always like up for like doing stuff, and like I talked to too many people, and I like, so for example, he said something to me. I was so hurt. He's like, I feel like a future with you involves a lot of random people coming in and out of our house. I was like, what?
Mm, okay.
You mean my friends? He's like, well, like at some point I remember him saying he had come to visit me, and I was like, yo, let's go outside. I think Italy had just won the Euros. And I was like, yeah, let's go outside, let's go celebrate. He's like, I think sometimes you just want me to hang out with your friends, but I don't like your friends like that. Like things, you just say these subtle things all the time.
Mm.
I remember telling him I'm going on a vacation with 3 of my girlfriends, and we were gonna stay at one of them's male friend's house. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
A male.
Yeah, but I'm with 3 girls.
It doesn't matter.
And he was like, no, you can't go without asking for permission from me. I was like, what?
Oh, but permission is a different one. Is it the fact that he was a male, or it was just he wanted to be asked for permission?
He said, you can't do that without my permission. You made that decision. He's like, so we booked the ticket, and then I told him about it, and he's like, you didn't ask for my permission. And I was like,
Mm.
I'm telling you about it. He's like, no, but it's a guy. So this is why it was. So I felt a little bit suffocated in that relationship, and I was like,
Yeah, but the problem is the same. It's
yeah.
the presence of males.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. This is me bringing a fact out. There was a time I had gone home for like a holiday during our relationship, and in that time, one of my exes, who is in the friend group I've been in for like 4 years, we were like together in the same place, right? And he found out, and he's like, "Oh, so you're seeing your exes and you're friends with your exes," and he got mad at me for somewhat lying about it. And I understood, like, okay, I lied. We even broke up for like 2 days because of it. And I was like, okay.
Adara, my G.
I asked for forgiveness and all that stuff, but I think there was a little bit of element of like he hadn't fully forgiven me. And I understood that. I was like, but at the same time, I can't be in a place where I'm constantly having to prove myself a mistake I
Yeah.
made so long ago,
Mm.
you know. So this was one of the reasons we broke up. But this is not the main of this part of the story. But he threw that in my face when we broke up, like, Neo's right about you. You will hurt people and all that stuff. And I was like, damn. So am I the bad guy? This is pretty much, the end of the story. But Ndombolo is now married. I don't know if he's happily married. I hope he is. To one of his exes that he dated before Neo, actually. So if that's an interesting story. Neo still hates me. He said this to my ex's High Life's friend. She mentioned that she hates me to this day. So yeah, somewhere out there in the world, someone still hates me, even though the person that she hates me about ended up with someone else.
I don't know what to say. Especially as far as Neo goes, and for some reason you were her nemesis. Ndombolo, Reggae, High Life, all them peeps, especially with the fact that they're kind of from the same place, same education system, same connection. I got people to say, be careful of the circles that you're in.
I swear.
Because
Mhm.
because those circles could be to your benefit and gain, or they could be to your detriment and loss.
And sometimes I look back and I'm like, wait, am I the common denominator in these stories?
Well, with 4 people involved and you're by yourself, yeah, you're kind of looking a bit like a common denominator, love.
I'm like, am I the villain? Am I the drama?
I don't know. But from the sound of things, your relationship with males makes other guys uncomfortable. And I'm not
You
saying that's
say,
a and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But
but you when you
maybe
say other guys, you're talking about high life
it,
alone.
well, yeah, high life, yeah, and this also, and I don't know.
Because I'd never had this problem. Maybe because I'd also dated people who were also in engineering, so they understood
Yeah.
somewhat, you know. But it's not like I'm that cozy with my male friends. Now I have stronger female friends than male
Mm,
friends. But they're just people like when we're like, yo, we're trying to go to the park, we're trying to go on a trip. Yeah, there's some of my guy friends are gonna be there, but my female friends are also
yeah.
gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got a good mix of both.
Yeah, definitely now I have more of a mix. Back then, and like in my
Mm.
in my university life, it was definitely imbalanced.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of out of time. But very, very, very useful insights there. And I'll play back your lessons. Your first one was sometimes we meet people during their healing stage, and I can see where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to touch the painting before it's dry, and we end up ruining it, and we end up with getting some of that mess on ourselves.
Yeah.
And then lesson number 2, I can only be myself and can't be responsible for how others perceive that. I think that couldn't have been said any better given what happened with
Yeah.
all of these people. And then last but not least, sometimes kindness is taken for weakness and sometimes for prostitution is a mad thing. Thank you so much, Adara, for sharing that story with us.
Nah, I enjoyed sharing it. Like I'm also glad that, you know, the
Yeah.
pod is open to friendship and family breakups. It's, you know, it's a different twist because these are some things that might, you know, that people might deal with as well.
Yeah. Well, you've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and we will catch you in next weekend's episode. Peace.
Check out, come on.